Please hit like, share, and subscribe. Now enjoy the Practical Guitarist podcast.
Three, two, one. Jim, stop text messaging something.
I got to tell people I'm recording my podcast.
Yeah, I know. You're like, gotta let them know. Gotta let them know.
Can't believe my relative popularity, which is terrible. Because actually one person wants to talk to me.
So I think this episode's going to come out next because of the nature of some of the content.
Yep.
So this is actually the second episode of our new format, but we're going to release them in reverse order. So everybody, we're going to 1 hour episodes. We're going to splice them up. We're going to splice them into smaller chunks on YouTube.
Yep.
Now, let's move on. Let's start talking about some things. And the first thing I have on my list here, Jim, is your departed item.
Yeah, so I returned an item I think I'm talking about on the one that we're in backwards. So you guys will hear this in backwards order. But so I got that Fishman EQ pedal that they have, and really good pedal for a lot of people. It literally did nothing.
It was in the last episode. The last one I edited and posted.
So it was out. Okay. So the truth of the matter is, I got it in. I got it. I finally got to use it. I took it to a rehearsal. Thank God first. I didn't make the assumption that it was going to work. Took it in, plugged it into the PA, fired it up. Nothing. The EQ didn't change anything. I made sure that I had the settings. I had to pull out the little manual, which is like 2 pages long, which states the obvious. Make sure it's in guitar mode. Make sure you.
So you think it was bad, or
it might have been? I was talking to my rep. He said it might have been bad. He goes, "I'm sorry you had a bad, that I had a bad experience," but I wasn't interested in getting a replacement at that point. I was in a position of I'm just pissed off. I got this thing to do a certain. This is the thing that I wanted to make clear, and I don't think I made it clear enough when I bought it. And I didn't research it enough. This is my fault. I didn't research enough to know it wouldn't fix the problem with it. And that is, this is the thing about that pedal. That's a great pedal. If you send it out the 1/4 inch, guess what it does on the XLR side? Not a fucking thing.
It just converts it to, and then you use the mic pre's on the board. Okay.
That's right.
That makes sense. I mean, to an extent, because a lot of people would want to use the EQ on the board and then maybe have the 1/4 inch out signal. So I'm just trying to think about that. Does it send out balanced 1/4 inch, or is it just?
Yeah. So balanced or unbalanced. I don't know if it's balanced or unbalanced, to be honest with you, because it's in a cardboard box at FedEx.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, then why the hell would you even need it? You're just EQing your guitar and then sending it out into an instrument level
doing
input?
Anything. And the other side of it is, that's just it, though. You're EQing the guitar and setting it on an instrument, and you have a boost at your feet. So it's kind of like being the sound man at your feet. But the problem I have is I wanted to set it to XLR and set it to the board. That's a dumb
device.
Yeah, and so XLR to the board, really all it does is, okay, there's a balanced output. It went from unbalanced to balanced. You're welcome. Okay, but
I'm flabbergasted.
Literally, yeah. And so the boost button, which would be your solo mode, right? I'm going to go do a solo. So you have a balance control on the side. A boost control to decide how much boost you want. It's just a little pot. You literally turn with your fingernail or with a guitar pick or whatever. Sorry, my allergies are killing me. I set the and it didn't do anything. So I read the book, and it goes, "Oh yeah, going out the XLR doesn't do anything. Doesn't make any changes." Well, why did I buy it? It's
that's not a DI box.
$55. And I didn't pay that. He got me a great deal, but still,
I mean, that's barely a DI box at that
it's
point.
barely a DI box. I can go spend $25 for a DI box.
Well, I
Or
mean, to get a
$50.
quality one, you're going to spend $100,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's kind of
Power
crazy.
DI box.
Yeah.
That's
So
when
you,
I went. All
you
right,
have a preamp in your guitar though, right? Like it's got a battery and
Yeah.
everything, so it's active. So
Yeah.
you would only need a pat. Yeah, you'd be like $100. You could get one of the better
Yeah.
ones for $100, and
Yeah.
you should be fine. And like that's the whole benefit of that is that you would get the EQ from the device. But basically, what
Well,
that tells
you're
me is
taking-
that's intended for passive pickups to run through there and then get your instrument level out.
That's right. That's what it tells me. It's for passive.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense, though. Nobody
No,
runs
just who
passive
has-
pickups
Who
anymore.
has passive pickups? Well, banjo players, people like that.
Yeah, but
Um,
oh,
Yeah, it's definitely not for and passive basses because it has bass mode, and so I get it. It would have been great for the bass, but I wasn't using it for the bass. I used my bass amp for the bass. So honestly, it was a lot of money that I was like, well,
I would have
this is
returned it.
useless to me because I'm not going to use it. What am I going to send the quarter-inch out to? And then Drake says, well, you could send it to your amp. I'm like, this is not going to my amp. I'm not sending it to an amplifier. If I was going to buy an amplifier, I'd have bought a Fishman Loud box and I'd been done with it.
yeah, yeah.
Because that's to me that's up here. That's a great,
It's a great
You go
piece. It's
Fishman
probably the best one under $500 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I would have done. I would have taken the same amount of money, put a little more into it, and got a Fishman Loud box, which I still might do.
Yeah.
But for what I was doing with it, because then a Fishman Loud box, then I could send that DI out. Oh, now you're taking my DI out of that. It's not going to bypass everything. Now I've had a little control over my DI.
Right. Well,
Yeah. It
I
was
mean,
bad.
that sucks. Nobody wants to go through a product situation like that. And maybe I'm not understanding. Maybe we're not understanding what the purpose of that product was, and that.
Right.
But like, that doesn't seem right to me at all. That
Yeah.
that the XLR
me-
out is not affected. Usually,
Yep.
if that's going to be the case, like you'd have a selector switch,
Yep.
for
Yep. Like you
on a
turn it off.
dry
pre-post.
or analog drive through or that kind of thing. So, well, that's going to be a
Yep.
short segment. There's not really a whole lot to add there. That just sounds crazy to me. So, but
So
the,
that's
the,
it.
the return process of Sweetwater is fine, right? I mean, that's
It's
just
great. It's great.
box
I
it
mean,
up, send it back.
I'll pay for the return. It'll be a few bucks, but I don't care about that. It was an experience that I unfortunately
That's the rental
I didn't
fee.
enjoy. But yeah, I tried it and it wasn't what I was hoping it was, and that was. And he did say to me, he said, "Did you try pre and post EQ?" And maybe that would have helped me as far as the EQ side of it. But the problem was I wanted to be able to do a boost so I could hit a boost and play a solo. So I wound up doing the gig with the Strat and the Les Paul, okay, which looks, in this lighting, it looks like I got P90s, but those are the regular.
Yeah,
those
they're
are,
the regular old silvers.
they're the chrome looking like they're white in this reflection. But which now that I'm looking at, I'm like, wow, maybe I should put some P90s in that. But anyway,
No.
if I put a P90s in anything, I'd probably put P90s in the double cut. But anyway, so I did the gig with my my electrics and my twin, which that's the double cut in the case because there's not enough
Yeah.
hangers right now to put the double cut out. But I got a hanger we're working on, and I might go like in between these two or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard because the wall is only
You're
11
running
feet
out of space.
wide. And
Yes.
I'm running out of space.
You can't
and that means
store
anything goes
everything on the
in,
wall.
anything goes in, goes out. So before I finish my little segment, I was thinking about selling the double cut and getting, listen to this, the most useless guitar on the market. An Epiphone double neck 12-string, 6-string. But I decided against it.
Yeah, you don't want one of those, the ES 175s or whatever they are.
Yeah, they're called G1275s or something. But yeah, I believe me, part of me wants one just to have one. But that's like saying I want, a statue of something. I mean, it's not. It wouldn't get used as a guitar often enough to make a difference. So,
Okay.
I could get a Funko Pop.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll be
Okay.
fine with it.
Okay. So we're on to the next segment. I want to start off. I want to tell our listeners that there's going to be a lot of jokes here. Things are going to fly fast and furious.
Yep.
We do understand that people were obviously affected by this, and it sucks because some of these people, their livelihood depends on this particular thing. But it's still funny. Like, it's still funny.
It is funny because people will not lose anything. In the end, everybody's going to be made whole. No one got hurt.
Right. And I will suggest a few things that I've seen online that kind of make me laugh about it. But so basically, if you haven't heard, this was the big story this week. Boutique Amp Distribution's LA facility burned to the ground.
I know.
It didn't just catch fire; it disappeared. Okay, it became an ash. It's a pile of ruin at this point.
Class Alpha Fire. That
Yeah.
thing was gone.
I mean, the image from the LA County Fire Department basically has some steel girders up, but basically everything else is either on fire or on the like gone. You can see the racks where all the Freedmans were, and there's no Freedmans.
I did not know. Here's an interesting tidbit. I did not know that Wampler built their pedals there.
Yes,
Some of them.
Wampler,
So I guess it's more than just a West Coast distribution facility.
It's not not their pedals, their amp.
Oh, the Bravado.
Yes, that's made there.
Oh, okay. Okay. That
So
makes more sense.
Brian Wampler
makes more
has
sense.
he's got a friendship with pretty much all these guys, Joe Morgan and Dave Friedman, and so I don't know which one of them helped him design, but I know he's got on loan from Dave Friedman some famous JCM 800 that Zach Wild used. It was modified by Dave, and so they all know each other real well. Anyway. So here's a funny part, right? So this place burns down, and my immediate reaction was like, "Oh, I honestly I have no listen, I buy Mesa Boogie amps. I mean, I've got 2 of them. If their place burned down, I would be like, that sucks. I mean, it means that there's going to be setbacks in production, but they're going to get everything taken care of. Even their business costs, the cost of the loss of business, as in them not being able to do business for 6 months, will be covered by their insurance if they have it. I would operate under the assumption that if they were able to rent a facility in the state of California, they probably have to cover a certain amount of business insurance as part of their license.
And there would have to be some kind of catastrophic cap to it, but still.
Yeah, and this is not act of God. You know what this is the stuff that I've been laughing about all week. Is people making jokes about how the fire happened, right?
Apparently the fire happened next door.
Did it really?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Are we sure that nobody left the soldering iron on?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Well, you don't know what's next door. I don't know what's next door. What do they do next door? They bake cookies or something? I don't know. All I'm saying is allegedly the fire started next door, the building next to it. I'm not sure how close the buildings are. I didn't do that much research. And the truth is, I don't care. I mean, buildings burn down every day. We had a building burn down the street, and I was like, wow, that place burned down. And I don't even remember what it was. That's terrible. But
so there were more brands that I didn't realize.
Yeah, there was
Friedman, Wampler, Soldano, Egnator, Diesel, Matthews Effects, Tone King, Bogner, and Morgan. Now Bogner's not going to be affected much by this because Bogner has stuff overseas too. They have a really big overseas manufacturing plant. We call it we joke about it and call it the sweatshop. It's somewhere in Eastern Europe. It's that kind of thing.
Austria.
Find the cheap labor and then you'll find it. It sucks.
So it's in what is it? Not Belize. What's the other one?
Somebody. Who knows? Somebody here is not going to reopen their business. somebody in this group is going to say, you know what,
Somebody's going to cut their losses and say
I would
goodbye.
rather go work, consulting for another company, or get a position with somebody else than to try and rebuild my business from scratch.
Yep. Well, here's the thing that lifts. So for me, personally, I'm not a huge amp guy, guys. So if you guys were gonna say, Jim, you should have known that, I'm not big enough into the production part of it to know. But I'll say this, because we're gonna lead into our next part here shortly, but about wood. But I personally, okay, I didn't know all these amps were made in the same place, and it's hard for me to believe. Now it is possible because it was a large structure. It's hard for me not to believe that a lot of these parts probably came off the exact same. That tells me Morgan and Diesel and Soldano and Friedman and all the others using the same people, doing the same things, the same stuff. They're probably pulling parts out of different bins.
Okay, all right. So that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. They pulled their resources to share the building and to share employees to build things, but they're still speccing their own gear and they're still buying their own parts. And
they're still pulling them out of their different. We're building a Morgan right now. Pull these.
Yeah,
these are the parts.
But it's not as though it's like a collective. It's not as though they're actually building. You know what I mean? Like they're not they're not building them out of the same parts. And I think that was the distinction I wanted to make.
Right, you might come in and work 70 hours for this month. I did 80 hours for Friedman. I did 90 hours for or 12. And it makes sense for somebody like Wampler, who only puts out I don't know how many bravados a year. I mean, maybe he'll use that as an excuse to get out of it. I don't know. I don't know a single person that owns a bravado. I'm not saying they're good, bad amps. I'm just saying
I want to see Morgan is actually making that for him. By the way, I don't know.
And
so like they can say that's a home of their operation or whatever. It's not. And Jim, this is not. So like this one burnt down, right? And everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna lose all these brands. That's not gonna be number one. That's not gonna happen. But number two is there was this other collective up in Oregon or Washington State, where they were building like Two Rock and all that stuff about 10, 15 years ago, called Premier Builders Guild.
Oh yeah.
And so this is kind of pulling back the curtain for a lot of people, because I think they're starting to realize like that's not as boutique as I thought it was.
Yeah, see, that's my point.
I've been trying to tell everybody. Nobody listens to me.
I was picturing four people that work for Wampler who sit, with those big glass things, and they're soldering little points and he's got like a little wood shed over here with air conditioning.
Not a single Wampler employee involved.
Yeah, so that kind of that's what that pulls the curtain back for me. It's not, and I never assumed for a minute that Friedman didn't have a bunch of people, but now it's like, it's like me. I do software, right? I do software stuff for several different types of software. So I have several silos,
right?
And I'm the person at the top of the silo that sucks up all the gas, right? And come on in, and so I'm the one who gets. I'm the one who gets to do this. So I'm not. It's not that I'm not good at my job doing these different software distribution and deployments, but I don't know that one software as well as someone who did that one software all the time.
Right.
And I just don't know. And again, I don't know amps well enough. Someone who builds amps might tell me, Jim, it doesn't matter. You're soldering components to a board. You have a schematic. You put capacitor 6 into slots. Whatever, which I've done before, so you're not telling me anything new. I don't know. It tells me that it's not as boutique as it was. And maybe the money that people, because when I was picturing that thing with Wampler, I'm going, wow, that's why that damn amp is so expensive, is because they're paying this person a lot of money. They're doing a lot of sitting around.
Now you're getting it.
Now,
35. What is it? What is a
Yeah, bravado.
No. What is a Friedman?
Milkman.
Dirty Shirley. Not the, what's the big one? The BE. The BE. The brown. Okay.
Yep.
So the BE100 is a $4,000 amplifier.
Yeah.
And a $4,000 amplifier, normally in your head, you get something in your mind like a train wreck. Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, you've got a circuit boarded amp built in a warehouse by people
Yep.
that build Morgan and Tone King and Bogner. And you've got to kind of scratch your
Diesel.
head at that point and go, what the fuck am I paying for?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
What
are we?
That's why I was pissed off, and I wouldn't buy any of those amps without like being real sharp about what I'm doing, because like Morgan has got reasonable prices. I know people say you're crazy. A $2,000 Princeton, that's what a hand-wired Princeton costs.
Right.
But a $4,000 JCM 800 with mods?
Yeah, that's where.
Now you're pushing it, guys.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, I watched this thing go down, and I'm like, this is going to pull back the curtain for a lot of people, and it did. But the funny thing is, like, it didn't do it in the way that I thought. It was like, oh, Friedman's going to be out. I can't buy a Friedman now. And the prices of Friedmans are going up on Reverb already. Like,
of course they are.
Which is hilarious.
Because we're Americans, and we can't wait 5 freaking minutes to get a freaking new amp. We can't wait a little while for them to go into an office. Now, admittedly, they've got to wait because now supply lines aren't doing that great. That's what we should be moving into next, because that's our next thing. Yeah, they got to buy a bunch of capacitors and a bunch of transistors. And think about all the tubes that got destroyed. Those aren't as easy to replace as they used to be. We've got, a lot of things
I want to pick on one thing. I want to pick on one thing out of this.
Sure.
Dave Friedman, specifically, Friedman Amps.
Yeah.
They released their mini amp, and I have seen so many people like, this thing is wonderful, it's amazing. It is a piece of shit. And I can say that. I don't even want to hear it in person. I can hear it in clips, and I know exactly what it is. It is the distortion pedal running into a Class D amplifier that they purchased from the company that makes all of the Class D amplifiers that the audio industry is using right now. There is nothing special about this thing. It is no different than a Marshall Lead 12. It is no different than an MG. Yep. And people are freaking out over this thing. And it'll still be around. If you want one, you can still get one, because that didn't burn down here. That was made in China. Okay? And the Runt will still be available because that didn't burn down here. That's made in China. And I think the 2 mini amps are also made in China. So who cares? This stuff's not drying up. There's enough of these amps on the market already. Don't run out and buy one if the place burns down. If you're looking at buying a Friedman right now, like, just stop.
This is not the time to do it.
No, this is an awful time to do it.
Unless you get one that's new in stock from Sweetwater.
Dealers are not going to make deals on them.
They don't need to.
Used people are not going to want to sell them for cheap because they can make bank on them. So just forget it. Just move on. All right.
That's like buying Bitcoin at $60,000 a year.
Yeah,
or $60,000.
All
right.
So that's the boutique burn down.
That's right. Boutique burn down.
Next thing we got up is the wood crisis.
This is our final segment. This should be interesting.
We got 2 segments. I got one more at the end.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and we're only 23 minutes in. So if you got other stuff you want to talk about,
I'm wearing my Pedals the Musical.
Oh, you got a Pedals the Musical shirt. Oh, nice. So
they sent it to me for free. I want it.
So the wood crisis.
Yep.
Now I'm going to take all politics out of this, because I think people, when they start to hear a conversation about tariffs and stuff, they start wanting to defend their political candidate. So
yeah, let's not do that. We're not doing that.
I am actually going to mention names, but I'm going to do it because I want to point out to everybody, nobody is got their hands not dirty in this one. Everyone's dirty on this one. So President Trump raised tariffs in 2018 and it caused the wood prices to spike, and then kind of relaxed those in 2019, end of 2019. And then now we've got Biden proposing an 18% hike. Okay?
Yep.
I saw a meme. I don't know if this meme is true or not, but basically they showed a big pile of wood that was like this, and it was $100 worth of wood in 2020, and then $100 worth of wood in 2021, and it was like a little stack of wood, right?
That's right.
And I used my hands to show, this is kind of what it looked like versus what it looked like last year. And that was no exaggeration. That's what the meme looked like. And I sort of suspect that's not an 18% difference. That's, that's a lot more than that.
It goes into there goes into more than that. But certainly things might not trickle. You get the old trickle down economics. Things that are good may not trickle down so good. But let's say things that are bad trickle down real fast.
Yeah.
But it's like shit rolling downhill, right? But the point that I was going to make here is I love the memes where the person goes, "I've got 4 toothpicks and I know what they're worth, so don't try to lowball me on them." But
yeah.
But,
all right.
let's talk about them in relation to the guitar industry.
Yeah, first and foremost, let's get this out of the way. We don't use wood from Home Depot, okay?
Right.
People on this show don't write us. If you're watching on YouTube or you're find us on podcast, please do not write us and tell us, I can go down to Home Depot right now and I can buy wood at X price and build you a guitar. No, you can't.
No.
Okay? Because that is not the wood that our industry uses. We use high grade, furniture grade, like wood. All right? Beyond the scope of what you're going to buy at anything other than a wood supply place.
Well, if you're making those guitars they used for We Are Not Men, We Are Devo, you're getting them from Home Depot.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's like, what the hell? Here, let me make you one out of a frying pan.
But yeah, we're the guitars that are hanging on this wall, and some of them are not super high grade. We're still buying furniture, as David pointed out. We're still buying furniture grade
or better,
higher quality or better. That's right, or better. And depending on the furniture, some of the furniture is better. Boutique, relatively boutique wood. Okay. And the other, there's a couple sides to this whole wood thing. There's also amplifiers, which I think we talked to before.
Mm-hmm. We may have actually not gotten to that topic, so we might want to cover a little bit here. But go ahead.
Yeah. And in amplifiers, of course, we just lost a bunch of them, and wood was one of the things that got burned up. Yep. Okay, because when you're building amplifiers, what are you building? You're building cabinets. What do you use for cabinets? Wood. And it's easy to stack a lot of cabinet wood. I could put a lot of cabinets in this little 11 by 11 by 11 place. Okay, so this room could probably hold hundreds of amplifiers worth of stuff in this amount of space.
Yeah.
So because it's relatively thin in its But that said, that's a shitload that got burned up.
Yeah.
Of really high quality wood. These weren't cheap amps. They're not made from your local Home Depot wood was not what was in these things.
3/4 or 1 inch ply, Baltic birch, marine grade plywood, voidless is not something you're going to pick up at Home Depot. Not the kind of stuff they use. Okay. No. And that's why people go to cabinet makers. So I'm not even sure they're all making their own cabinets. They may actually be outsourcing their cabinets. And they may just be doing the electronics production there. And that's usually the case. Like I know Tone King doesn't do their own cabinets. They pay someone else to do their cabinets because their cabinets are pretty wild looking. If you've ever seen them,
they're going to have cabinets there when they're
Right. So whatever's stored there might be for what's in production, and that that might it may not be like they're warehousing it. And by the way, that facility is like really, really small. People seem to think that it's like huge. It's only 200 by 200 feet. Like it's small in your house.
Small.
Yeah. I mean it's small, real small. Like the parking lot's bigger. Okay,
200 by 200. Geez, my office is at where I work is.
It's like a shack, man. I mean. It's literally like I'm sure you've heard of this the pole barn, but like it's what it is. So the wood thing. All right. So how does this affect our industry? Obviously, prices are going to go up if there's more tariffs. Yep. It's harder to get wood. Here's why tariffs matter. We don't get our wood from the United States. People seem to think that we're cutting down mahogany and alder here and making all of our guitars out of locally sourced woods. And the reality is we have plundered most of our good wood here in the United States. So the kind of woods that we use that are like furniture grade and better, they're getting them from Canada. So when they say we're going to raise tariffs, that means your like furniture, your boutique furniture, and which by the way they use like 80% of the wood that comes out of Canada, like the really good stuff, it goes directly to the furniture industry. We kind of play second fiddle. So we're using the other, 3% that isn't bought up by other industries, like the auto industry, right? So, yeah, that's right. Wood paneling in cars, we share. So that's why I'm like looking at this. I'm going, does it really matter to our industry? Yes, because they're going to use this as an excuse, like the oil industry does. Anytime something happens, the prices are going to go up, regardless of whether it actually impacts you. And impacts the company itself, because they take an opportunity to say, "Oh well, the expectation is it's going to be more expensive, so let's make it more expensive." They don't want to. They don't want to. They don't want to not meet expectations.
Yeah. Well, if you're a pricing person, if you're in pricing, so those people that are on the back end of this stuff know that pricing is important, right? And what happens is anything. When you do pricing, it's a weird numbering system. It's the strangest numbering system that doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense to the mind and the way people perceive value of an item that they pay for. So let's talk about. I've many times said that fenders are overpriced because it's just slab of wood with another slab of wood that are bolted together and they turn them into a guitar. I joke, but
well, I mean, we've all joked about it, but there's labor costs there too, and obviously that's a problem,
and I joke about it. But the thing that I'm not joking about is, okay, so you take it might not take but maybe $10 more to make an Ultra than a Pro, right?
Correct.
And so, and in the middle there are the Pro 2. There's what's the one below the Pro, the gigging one, the Performer.
Oh, the Performer.
Let's say there's let's say there's really less than $100 worth of stuff, and certainly barely more than 20 minutes worth of work, right, between a Performer and an Ultra. Oh, look, you've got this neck heel carve. Oh my God, that took a lot of work. Okay, a CNC machine took an extra 4 seconds to cut that out, and so we move this thing along, right? But to make that ultra. You've got to make it like, but it cost me a lot to make that. So we're going to make that a lot more money. And so we're going to charge a lot more money for it. And so they have these price schemes. And so those prices, when they make those hikes, they make them not for now, but for the future. So when you see those price hikes, if you see let's say, and I'm not saying this will happen, but let's say that these wood prices drive the Ultras up to $2,200, let's say. Because if you think about it, they could probably go upwards of 21, 22 with those, because you're looking at the John Mayers and things like that. That's in that category. So if they went to, say, $2,200 with those, and then brought up the other ones in line with that, now the perceived value has gone up, is all I'm saying. So I guess the reason I'm saying that is because it's not necessarily that the guitar itself costs $300 more to make, or to sell, or to distribute. It's that there's a whole lot of little things in there to get added up. And we, as consumers, for some reason, we love that. You ever wondered why .99 cents? There's always something. It's like, well, it's under $5,000 because it's $49,999. $4,999.99, so it's under $5,000.
And it doesn't work either. That's a whole myth thing that's been done to death by the marketing industry. Talk to some people in marketing; they'll tell you it's bullshit. They still do it though.
They still do it. That's right.
It's tradition at this point. It's tradition at this point.
It was so. I think it lands in. I remember when they had to bring the price of gas up over $1. Okay, I don't know if anybody's here old enough to remember that. The machines that they used to pump gas at the time were not digital; they were analog, and the little thing would roll. Okay, so this was the mid '70s. So when they decided to go and add that 99 cents, it was something, and I don't remember. I was a little young to honestly give a shit what it was that caused this. But for some reason, instead of being able to get that one extra penny, they had to go to 99 cents or 99 tenths of a cent. That's why your prices are at 99
It
tenths
has
of
to
a
do with
percent.
weights and measures and
Yeah.
state guidelines that
And
yeah, and then
actually,
they had to decide whether they're rounding up or down. It was like that. It was a whole
yeah, and
debate. Like you can actually read
they
up about
rounded
it.
they rounded down to one hundredth of a penny. I mean, you'd think that doesn't add up, but that's huge numbers in the bulk of the amount
Yeah,
of
at the end of the
fuel.
year, it's like probably
Yeah,
$1 billion or something.
yeah. But it's just funny to think about that. But that perception, when you go to buy gas, do you say I pay? Here's the funny thing: do you say I pay 289 or do I pay 290? Most people will say I pay 289 for gas, even though they actually paid 289, not 0.99, which is effectively 290.
Correction, they paid $291.30 because
Yes.
because they did a credit card transaction, and their credit card gets charged more, but you wouldn't
Yeah.
know it unless you look at the receipt because they don't tell
Yep.
you that. And then on top of that, you got the 0.3% interest you're going to get charged
That's
on your
right.
purchase.
State and local taxes and everything. Yeah. And so if you used a credit card, yeah, that's why a lot of people still use cash. I will not stand in that line. It is not worth my 4 or 5 cents. I am
No.
not standing in line
No.
to do that. I will suck it up. It's just funny. It's funny to see the perception that we have. If somebody said to me, "But you know what's funnier is when you buy the guitar, you go, yeah, I got it under $2,500. But when somebody says, how much did you spend on it? You like to puff up the old chest and go, I spent $2,500 to get that guitar." Because that's, even if you got a great deal on it and you only spent $2,250.
I don't
you're still,
know.
this is a
I,
$2,500
I would
guitar.
much rather lie to people and tell them I paid less, because then I feel like an idiot if I paid
Yeah,
sticker.
well, I'm saying that look at some of the people that do that stuff online. Come on, you don't see it in
Oh,
groups
no.
everywhere.
I
spent
I
$3,000.
do, and I think
can't believe how
that's
much-
kind of a screwed up thing, is that people attach value to it like that's a big deal. I'm not going to promote that and support that. I'm like, okay, you want to spend your money, go right ahead. This is the practical guitarist here.
Well, it speaks to the thing I said just over a year ago, and I've said this many times. The price of used gear is coming down, and I said that once once the whole COVID thing was releasing and people started going back to work, and
Yeah, I
we're gonna see
I
that
haven't seen
price-
that shift down yet, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
it's coming.
I got this in here. It's
It's
waiting.
coming. I got some cash sitting aside that I've been putting aside for just that day. But yeah, we're gonna see a movement. But the price of wood, like you said, they love to pass the extra cost on to you, whether it's a lot or a little. I am sure we're about to see price hikes in guitars. We are
yeah.
about to see price hikes in guitars.
Yeah, I mean, right now, so like the brands that are spending probably the most money on woods, and you can get pissy with me if you want to, are probably like PRS. And if you look at PRS prices, they've gone up significantly in the last 5 years. A core model is now what, $3,600 or $3,700. So if we see a 10% increase in the price of wood over the next 3 years, you're going to be looking at $4,000 core models. I mean, that's and it could happen really fast.
The only core model I'm interested in is up over $4,000 already.
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous. The Studio,
Yeah, it'll be a 4,400 for you when you go to get one.
I'm priced out.
Yeah.
I'm that guy who's going to sit with 30 something $100 in his pocket and wait for that guitar to show up used. Somebody's going to need money to pay their bills or something, and I'm going to be that one that snatches it up.
And that's really ultimately the thing here is like people need to realize, as a consumer, it's probably in your best interest to realize that there's a surplus of guitars laying around on the used market. Like,
right.
there are people that have like 30, 40 guitars and play one a year, and they might play 1 gig a year. And
Yep.
as soon as they realize that they have something attractive that is worth money because there's a wood crisis, you're going to see that stuff start showing up on Reverb. Now, the
Right.
prices are going to go up slightly, but you'll have your pick of the litter, which I think is going to be really interesting to see how that actually plays out. It'd be interesting to see how much the prices go up as a result of, like, the used prices go up as a result of new values, which is a huge deal. Like, if you've ever bought a Fender Strat and then waited for a price hike and then sold it, you know that you get an extra $100 or $200 depending on how much the price hike is.
Yeah.
And the condition of the guitar doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's a hedge against inflation.
The guitar
really.
does not change. It's interesting to see those numbers.
Yeah, because I know somebody who bought they bought a Mexican Strat a while back and they paid like $550 for it, and I was like, those are $350 new. You know, like I was just like, that was $350 new, and you just paid $500 for it, like, because the new one, the current one, is like $700. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
wow.
I saw the Player
Like-
Series prices. This is what's funny. So when I started working at Guitar Center, you guys can remember because I was on the channel, right? Started working at Guitar Center. I started working at this in the winter of 2019. Really, really, Black Friday of 2019 was my kind of initial thing, right?
As your baptism by fire.
That's right. We had just gotten that's because that's where this guitar came from. That was that's a late 2019, early 2020 Les Paul. All these things that I got for the discount were there. Anyway, and they did Gibson did the whole, we're not going to put a year on our models anymore, which is still kind of difficult for some people to grasp. But anyway, that's a different thing. Point is, Fender Player Strat. We had them on sale under $500 Black Friday.
Yeah.
This year, okay, they just went on sale for $600 and something dollars.
Yep.
And people were snatching them up like it was no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just under $700. It was like $685.
Because they know a price hike's coming. That's part of it. Like, if you're guys like us and you're sitting here looking at this stuff and you're going, hey, my buddy just bought, and they discounted for $500 or $600, and you know that the price of wood's about to go up, like,
Yep.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, there was already a price hike. 2019, guys, that's only a year and a half ago when I started at Guitar Center. I only worked there for a year. It was amazing for me to watch prices. And what's funny, it was Fender at that time. I'm not saying Gibson doesn't do price hikes; they certainly do. Fender at that time was the one doing the huge price hikes, and right on there was PRS. Now we could say that it's perceived or not value, and it's good or bad. It doesn't matter. But the point is, the John Mayers. Remember when the John Mayers came out? They were just at what, $20.99?
Yeah, they were over that.
Was it-
I don't think they've had a price hike on the John Mayer, maybe $100.
They're at $2,300 now. They're at least 100 or
They
two.
were
150
always
more.
around that because they were actually like $100 more than the CE, and the CE's only gone up $100. So, I've been watching that closely.
No, I watched them. I know they went up at least 100, if not
We
150.
can Google it.
But my point is that yeah, because I know I was just in there and I said, really, the John Mayers are that much now? And apparently they're going to come up with a pink one. That's one way to do it. Let's
Yeah.
increase prices by painting. Yep, $2,400. Yeah, and so they're at 24 now, and I want to say they were at $20.99 or $21.99 when they first came out, because they weren't really that much more, or maybe it might have been $21.50 when they first came out, because they were a little more than the CEs. The CEs at that time were under $2,000.
Yeah, they had a $100 price hike, but they weren't.
Yeah.
They were always over $2,000. Both of them, both guitars. The CE has never been below $2,000. That's where they.
I don't know. I bought mine, but I remember I always get a little bit of a discount. But I didn't think it was that much.
No, it's right around $2,000. I mean that's. In fact, I think they were 2000 even, like 1999 or whatever. But that's $2,000, okay, with tax, and they've gone up too. They've gone up about $250, $300 now, because I think they're 2,300 now.
Yeah, all day long they're 1999. The CE, ZZ Sounds, Musician's Friend. Yeah, they're just under 2,000.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah,
like
so that-
the CE is only 2,000 right now.
Yeah, it says 1999. I'm looking at ZZ Sounds right now, brand new, shop new.
Wonder if that's last
1999,
year's.
Derek Cherry. I'm looking
Oh,
at
yeah, no,
their website.
They're 1999 right now. I'm thinking of the semi hollow.
Yes, the semi-hollow was. You're absolutely right. That one has been always just
Yeah.
over $2,000.
But actually, that's interesting
Um,
because the CE. No, I remember when the CE was 1,700. That
Yeah.
just the straight old CE. Yeah,
The CE, yeah.
yeah. And then the Silver
And
Sky
so-
came out and it was like 2,100, 2,150. It was like right in
Yeah.
that. Because I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's over $2,000. Like,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
And now the CE base model is at $2,000, and the Silver Sky is up at 24. My point is they painted it a new color, and oh my God, everybody's got to go freaking crazy about it. And it's like, okay.
Well, it's a limited edition
It's
finish, and
greenish.
everybody thinks that limited edition means that it's worth more money, and it's just not.
Yeah, it is.
I mean-
It's a perception. That's exactly right. We go into that perception of is it really that value? And Guitar Center has, honestly, I got to be honest with you. I saw it in person, and that's color wise. I thought it was cool, but this is a personal issue, or a personal preference, not a. As far as if I was going to pick a color, I can't bond with the neck on a John Mayer. I can't stand the neck, but if I was going to pick a color, Guitar Center's tungsten, which is only Guitar Center, is actually a pretty cool color. The color.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything better about that guitar. Absolutely nothing about that guitar. Better
Honestly,
than a blue one, an orange one, a yellow one, a silver.
even if we got the pricing wrong here, let's just be real for a minute. Like, we're talking about guitars that they're not translucent guitars, right? So, like, for wood, this is just straight old alder or whatever they're making those out of.
Yep.
Which I assume it's alder because they're Silver Skies. But, I stood in the store today and I looked at a bunch of PRSs and I looked at some tops, and they have a beautiful Zach Myers SE in blue over at Good Time Music, because they changed the color. It used to be Trampus green, and now it's the cerulean blue.
Yeah,
or
I
whatever.
can't stand that color. I like the blue. Yeah.
The blue is gorgeous. I actually love the Trampus green as well. But I was looking at it and I was like, man, that's got to be an expensive ass veneer. And just thinking to myself, like, what's going to happen when all this stuff changes? Because you're not going to, like, okay, having the flame guitar is going to be like really insane. But I could see Gibson going back and making like non-flame Les Paul standards and stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way they're gonna be able to do it. Keep the price down.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot more gold top. I mean, that was the beginning of the whole thing. What a lot of people, they look at these. They'll say, "Oh, look, I got a 50s and it's a sunburst." But how come the seam is
There's
in the
no
center?
book.
How come
Like, there's no book
because
match, and like it doesn't
you didn't
even
get
look
there.
good.
It started life as a black or a gold top, and somebody stripped the finish off and put a sunburst color on there, which is fine. It's gorgeous, but they didn't care what's underneath that gold top. I got no idea. Unless I could take a sander to it,
There ain't no flame under there. I can tell you that much.
it's gold. It's gold. That's what's under there. At least I know what that looks like. And a friend of mine, way back when I bought my first Strat. So guys, I've said this before. I'm relatively new to the electric guitar community as far as like really having any knowledge whatsoever. I mean, any. And when I went to buy my Strat in 2001, I've told the story that my friend said, play every Strat you can. They're all going to play different, which back then they did. They all felt different. They all played different. The necks were not
they still do.
consistent as
They
should
still
be.
do. They're
So I
all over the
grabbed
place.
it. Yeah, and I grabbed a neck I knew I liked, and the guitar I knew I liked, and he goes, "Oh, that's cool. You got a sunburst?" And I said, "Yeah, I got sunburst." I go, "They're all the same." And he goes, "No." He goes, "The wood in a sunburst, you can see." He said, "If you get a black one or a red one, they don't care. it's, just,
Well,
it's just wood.
yeah, I mean they do and they don't because they know that
I mean,
you'll eventually see the seam in it, but
right.
it's
What I
not.
mean is,
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The grains, they don't care about the grain. They don't care about the beauty of the grain. Not that that makes, and he even said to me, not that that makes a shit bit of difference to the sound.
right. I was
It's
just gonna
just
say
something that,
like grain doesn't mean shit in the way it sounds. Like that's Um,
and that's what he said.
so yeah, so look for that because there's going to be price hikes in wood in 2022 or whatever, and it's going to
Oh
be
yeah,
awful
we're
for
gonna
the
see
industry.
him.
So this leads
That's right.
into the final bit I want to talk. Well, final two bits I want to talk about. So, I guess we'll talk about Kiesel first, and then we'll talk about Mesa Boogie. Um, so I'm looking at Kiesel's again, and it's mostly because I took my trip to Las Vegas, and actually probably worth just doing a little bit of rundown there because like I got to see some people playing in a bar while I was there, and this was in a casino, right? And a nice casino, very famous casino that sucks, and I won't tell you the name of it because I don't want you to stay there. And I'm walking through this casino, and there's a bar, and there's a dude playing like guitar, and he's playing electric guitar the first night. I'm looking, and there's a katana. And then the next night, I see him and he's playing acoustic guitar. And I look in, and there's a katana.
Yep.
And then as we're walking out, there's nobody in there. So I look in to see what's on the bandstand. Drums are still there, everything else is still there. No katana. So it's clearly the guy's katana, and he's performing with it in Vegas.
Yep.
Just let that sink in for a minute. You know, they don't hire slouches to play in Vegas, even if it's a lounge gig. So I thought it was rather interesting to see a katana on a professional stage, and he was using he had the tilt back thing going, and he was using every bit of that amp, like, and was getting a lot of it. And he had a pedal board on the floor, and there was some basic stuff on there, but it was just interesting because I was like walking through there, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But anyway, I get back right. I've been back. I flew in yesterday. I played a little bit of guitar yesterday afternoon, and then this morning I got up and I was like, I'm gonna write something today. And I started playing, and I actually got a blister on my finger, and I played like crap. And I realized I haven't played in 5 days because I've been in Vegas, right? Like I didn't have a guitar with me. Right. And the one thing I could have brought my Kiesel with me, and I kind of like begged off, is I didn't want to try to carry anything on the plane. So it's dawning on me. I probably in traveling, which will be traveling more and more. I probably need to get something I can actually put in a carry-on that will go with me everywhere. That's more like my regular old guitar, right? Like my strap, basically. So that said, I already have a Kiesel. I have a 7-string, right? And I could travel everywhere with that, but that 7-string hurts my thumb. We've talked about it on the show. I can use it for like 2 or 3 songs in a gig where I need like low tuning or something. But when I have to go and play other stuff, then I would really rather prefer to play a 6 because then my hand doesn't go numb, and I can do a lot more. I'm not going to sell the 7. I don't think. I've been back and forth on it.
Uncomfortably numb.
Yeah, I've been back and forth on the 7 whether I'm going to keep it or not, and I think I'm going to keep it, but it's just back and forth. Not really sure what I'm doing. Yep. That said, I'm probably going to go ahead and order a Kiesel. I've been watching. I've been looking. I'm looking at a Delos, which I said I probably would never do. I think they're ugly. But it's basically a headless Strat. Thing's no bigger than a tennis racket. So it sort of fits the bill. I got to figure out what pickups and stuff I want to get in it. I got to figure out if I even want to risk it. Part of the shenanigans involved in this is I'm watching one of Jeff Kiesel's lives, and he's talking about we're hiking the prices in July 1. There will be price increases.
Yep. But he made the announcement early.
All right, let me talk about why this is a douchebag move. I'm going to say there are price increases coming so that you can order now, and then there's going to be a $25 price increase or a $50 price increase, which is what he does every single time.
He didn't say how much.
And he won't say how much. Somebody asked him, and he said, no, I'm not going to say how much, because it's a sales tactic. So I'm not really as worried about that. I'm kind of thinking if I order by July, I'll get it in November. That's kind of the way I'm like looking at this, because they keep saying 18 weeks or whatever their standard build time is, 12 to 16 weeks. There's no way in hell I'm getting a guitar in 12 to 16 weeks from them. It's just not going to happen. We're post-COVID, people. Come on.
That's right.
They still got backlog. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. They can stop spewing that horse shit all day long.
Yep. Yep.
I have... So, there are other people I know that would love to order a Kiesel, but they're terrified of Jeff because of the way he runs his mouth. We talked about him on the show before. The way he runs his mouth, the behavior that goes on behind the scenes. I guess there's a technician that works over there that somebody I know doesn't like either. Says that I won't say who said it, but they said they're an asshole, and they had to order parts or something from them, and it was like a nightmare. So, I am entering into this under the assumption that I have a backup plan, and I think this is worth saying to listeners. My backup plan is that if this guitar sucks, and I option 20, which is a possibility, which is like basically I can't return it. If I buy a guitar and I get custom on it and I can't return it, I have an option, and that's to take the thing out of the case, snap pictures of it, and put it on Reverb.
Yep.
And I'll get my money back. I'm confident in that. Yeah. Especially if it's a desirable build. So I have to sort of like think my way through that.
That's right.
But I don't think that's going to be that hard, to be honest with you, because like I was looking at prices for mine, and I would be sitting more than pretty if I were to sell mine. It would be within my best interest to consider selling my 7. But that said, I'm in no rush. Hopefully by the end of July I will have made a decision, or the beginning of July I will have made a decision, and we'll see what happens. If not, I may actually go ahead and pull the trigger on Warmoth parts and build a car, because I know the wood prices are going to start going up. I think that's what Jeff Kiesel is really talking about, is that they figure the wood prices are going up, and that it's not about a labor increase so much as a wood increase. Right. And because they've been talking about, like, they do an annual increase every year. Every year it's like $50. But I have a strong feeling that it's going to be a little bit more than $50 this year. And I also think that they probably actually hired some additional employees over 2020 to try and make up for the fact that their situation just went all to hell.
Yes.
So, in this live stream, and this is going to be the last segment, this is the Mesa Boogie segment. In this live stream, he mentioned Mesa Boogie because somebody asked him, what amp would you recommend to go with my Kiesel? And he said, well, we used to have 8 Mesa Boogies in the store here, but now they're owned by Gibson. So he's like, I don't know what that means. And he said, we don't really order from them anymore or anything. And they're being sued by Gibson. So if anybody's wondering what that's about, they're being sued by Gibson. But it brings up another interesting thing. There's been a lot of misinformation going around about Mesa Boogie. In fact, Philip McKnight, the guy that doesn't like to fact check shit, brought up on his latest live stream that Mesa Boogie is forcing dealers to take an extraordinarily large amount of product.
I was going to ask you about that, because you know the guys at, what do you call it?
That's not happening.
Go ahead.
That's actually not what they're doing. What they asked people to do was to fill out a forecast sheet for the next 12 months. And that they were going to revisit with dealers every 4 months for the next year, because they're having problems getting product out. And they would like to be able to forecast what the hell they need to build. Okay, it has nothing to do with, they didn't say, here, fill out your forecast sheet and give us, a year's worth of money so that we can send you inventory. That's not what they did. And so, like, these people that are running around saying that, I don't know where they're getting this from. Maybe the dealer is an idiot and can't read the fine print. Or maybe they just missed the bus. But that's not actually what's going on. And so Phil McKnight is reporting this. How did he know? Who did he hear from? Because they obviously were misinformed.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You're personal friends with people. That's why I was going to ask you that question.
More than one dealer.
That's what I said. You're personal friends with dealers. So I was going to ask you, is this true? Because the first thing I thought was, okay, maybe somebody's misinterpreting what's being said. Second thing I thought was, Okay, I thought that we were told that Mesa Boogie was going to be told, you do what you do Mesa Boogie. We just now we're the money people. You keep doing what you do because we don't want to mess with Mesa Boogie. And
You
so far, I haven't heard anything about them messing with Mesa Boogie, and that's why I said that. Other than the only thing I've seen that's different from before is now they've got the Gibson Garage, and guess what amps are in the Gibson Garage? It would have probably been Marshalls before. Now it's Mesa Boogies. That's the only any expected difference because they are Mesa Boogie now. So yeah, we're gonna put Mesa Boogies in there instead of Marshalls.
it's so funny.
That's,
It's so funny to hear people like look for reasons to hate a
they
company.
want to.
Well, so like I'm gonna back up for a second. All right, so there are two companies that are like super polarizing in this industry, and they have been for a while. One is Mesa Boogie, and the other is Gibson. And then they married each other.
You didn't
Which-
mention PRS. So.
Well, no, so PRS I don't think is as polarizing because Mesa Boogie and Gibson, like, people hate them. They hate them. I have heard people say shit about Mesa Boogie that isn't true for almost a decade. Oh, you can't dial them in. They're overcomplicated. Play a Fillmore. Play a Blue Angel. Play a Mark One. I mean,
California.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like even the older amps, like Nomads and stuff. They
Oh,
were
yeah, the
not
old Mark
complicated. They were not complicated. You people are crazy if you think 5 knobs is too many knobs on an amp. Okay.
Look, I
Um,
want 2 knobs.
Yeah, I want a tone knob and a volume knob. Well, you go find an amp with a tone knob and a volume knob, and you
Exactly.
bring it over, and we'll see
It
who
was-
can do more with their amp.
It was made since 1945. That's
Um,
what it was.
Oh my god! But so that's the thing, right? And then the Gibson people, the Gibson hate people are like, I mean, they got a pitchfork all day long, and really the Gibson hate is because of the prices. If
is.
Gibsons were the price offenders, nobody would be bitching.
Nobody would be on them. Nobody. If what's funny is these 2 guitars right here, the difference in price. It's, what do you call it? Matte pricing.
Matt
on
price,
these 2?
yeah.
Right. The difference in matte pricing on this is $600. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. That's a
Well,
whole
but
nother guitar. to
Especially
some-
when you consider that your Ultra isn't the equivalent of the Les Paul. Your professional, American Professional or whatever series they're calling it now would be the equivalent of the Les Paul Standard. Okay?
Right. That's
So-
what I'm saying. The Pro 2 or whatever you call it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Which is
So-
actually still a couple $100
Yeah,
less.
there's a bigger
You're
gap
talking
there.
You're talking about an $800 gap, let's say.
Yeah.
It's like $800, $900. So, yeah, I admit that's a whole nother guitar.
Mhm.
And then when people look at a Strat, they go, well, look, I don't have the problems I have on my. Well, you
But
also
they're
don't
not
put
the
binding on the neck of
same
them.
thing
They're
either.
not. Yeah, you're. There's not binding on it. You don't have a glued in neck. You don't have the same. You have a swimming pool route.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, the pick guard off that Strat, that's one fugly guitar right there. I pulled the pickups off the top of that thing. I've just got a guitar with 2 freaking routes in it. I mean, and I'm not saying that that's a good or bad thing. I'm not trying to say that
No,
it's
no,
better
no.
or
It's
worse.
just different. It's different.
And
And
you
for
can't
some
compare
people,
them.
yeah, exactly. So it's like they're not. If they were the same design, and you were going to compare price points, then yeah, it's different. But my point is that these companies are polarizing, and then they got in bed with one another. So now what do you got? You got
That's
people
right.
like who are in the Mesa Boogie camp who are like, oh God, screw you, and then you got people that are in the Gibson camp, screw you, and then there's everyone on the outside still saying screw you both.
Right. And so now you have internal hatred and you have external
Which is
hatred.
just like, it's mind-boggling to me the amount of misinformation I've seen in the last 90 days alone. Like, remember, they only announced the buyout in, like, what, January? So,
Yeah, was it
like,
January, February, yeah.
6 months ago, everything was hunky-dory. Nobody said a word.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, the dealers are like, oh, I got to ditch all my product, and they're going to raise... And it's not happening. It hasn't happened yet. And what makes me really laugh is that I heard somebody actually told me what the buy-in is, and I'm not going to tell you the number, but basically you're going to have to sell like between 8 and 15 amps a year.
Wow.
That's
a lot.
it. It's peanuts. It's
Wow.
peanuts.
You better. There are people that own that many Mesa Boogies.
I'm
All right,
sure
so-
there are dealers Jim, and this is worth mentioning. I'm sure there are dealers out there that sell 4 a year. And those are probably the people that are out there bitching because they don't even realize that they have never had it enforced that they were supposed to be selling 12 or 15. Right? And so they're sitting there going, what do you mean I got to send? How are you even in business? If you can't sell 12 or 15 amplifiers a year from one company, what the hell are you even doing?
What are you exactly? How many people do you have coming into your store?
Put them up on Reverb. You'll sell 12 or 15 in 6 months.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's no excuse when you've got Reverb and you've got out and people use Reverb as a website. I mean, companies.
I do.
And I'm sure. What is the guitar retailer you're friends with?
Good Time and Making Music and a couple of different ones that are up here.
I'm 100% sure they have a Reverb shop. 100% sure they got a Reverb shop. And the fact is that I bet you, and this is something that here it is again, people. You want another freaking hack for pricing? Oh, I saw you had this on Reverb. Ring, ring. Hey, do you guys have these? Because they don't have to take the one from Reverb off of Reverb because they don't care.
You can make the sale outside of Reverb and tell them, can you just give me the sale? Or like, I'll give you whatever it is minus the seller fee.
Yeah. You can get a discount if you call these people. Even Philip McKnight, Captain Fact Checks, he'll do the same thing. He'll tell you the same thing. Call them. Honestly, like you said, there is absolutely no excuse for not selling one
a month.
Average. Come on.
From a desirable brand.
You're just not trying at that point. You're literally not trying. You're just sitting on your hands and going, okay, Mesa, you do all the work. I'm going to sit here on my hands.
From a desirable brand. You will have random effing people come into your store if you advertise that you're a Mesa dealer to buy product from you.
They're going to come in there just to look at the Mesas, even if they don't buy one of those. Then they're going to tell their friends, and that's the person that's going to walk in and get one.
Right. So I'm just sitting here scratching my head, like, where did this come from, and why did he make this the main topic of a live stream?
He did. He put it up as a main topic.
I know.
It was the
tagline for it.
Like, wow, that's rich. But you were doing your thing with your family, so I didn't want to bother you during that time.
Yeah, somebody actually reached out to me after it and was like, "Is this for real?" And I was like, "No." I without even hearing about it, I was like, "No," because I didn't hear from either of my retailers. Like they would have said something to me because they would have been like, "Come in and buy something now before we,"
JB would have said something to you and said, "Hey, this happened. You need to talk about them."
That's why I'm like, what the hell? And we actually shot it down in the Facebook or in the Mesa Boogie owners group. Somebody brought it up in the Mesa Boogie owners group before Philip McKnight did. And I'm actually wondering if Philip McKnight is an account in that group and he saw that post and then he ran with it as this is a reliable source. But the funny thing is, if you read the comments on the post, it's basically 50 or 60 people saying you're full of shit, didn't happen. Right. Including other dealers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the funny part. Again, I don't know his friend network, and I don't know who he got the information from, and I'm not gonna judge too much.
He's jumped the gun a couple times on a couple of things. Sometimes he issues a retraction, sometimes he doesn't. It's just a reminder, hey, look, your news sources, especially when it comes to hobby stuff like this, like YouTube, it's not just us. It's just your news sources may not be as reliable as you think they are, and you might actually go to the horse's mouth and ask.
Yeah, it speaks directly to, because he's a dealer, he could have asked people. Or he was a dealer. I mean, he's still got connections. It speaks directly to the need people have that there's this thing about social media where they sit and they wait for bad news and they go, look at this. It's bad news. We were talking about, I don't want to get into specifics of what we were talking about before this, but I'm just saying that's what people do. They love bad news travels faster than good news. There's an old saying, about the grapevine, but there's no saying about bad news and its ability to travel. But I'm
The Gibson thing, like all this, you're absolutely
the
right.
Gibson one.
You're right though, because it's like everybody knew the Gibson acquisition had happened, and it's like sharks in the water right now.
Well, I mean, we go back to my guitar right there. It is a fuck up. All right, let's
It's a
call
mistake.
let's call it a mistake. It is what it is. It was a mistake. It's like getting a penny with Abraham Lincoln's head backwards or whatever. You know, the one that's weird, and it either has a value or if it doesn't have a value, it doesn't matter. It's intrinsic to whether somebody wants to own the mistake. And the fact is that when you look at these things, sometimes mistakes are happy. You get the story about what was the Gibson by the guy that was in Fleetwood Mac,
Peter Green.
with the Peter Greeny, or the number one Strat that David Gilmour owned that actually wasn't the number one, that they just stamped it that way because it was a
Because they didn't serialize them.
Pipe or something, for somebody. And if you look back at all this stuff, all these things, all this churn, all this stuff, and we can talk more about it next time because I'm sure we're at our hour over.
Yeah, we're at an hour and 10.
Yeah, I want to say this before we go, and this is my final tagline is this: buy what you like, get the guitar, the amp, the speakers, the pedals, the chords,
Don't
whatever
worry
you
about
love.
the dealer bullshit on the back end.
All that stuff. All these people. These are not collector's items for you to show off. And look at how many I have. 25 Fireflies. Oh, goody. I mean, good for you. Really good for you. If that's what you like, good for you. But they're not trophies, man. They're not trophies.
Unless you get to
They're
stack them
just-
up in a nice tower and send them to your buddies and be like, look at this shit.
Nobody buys hammers and saws and drills and puts them up on the wall and goes, look at my beautiful drills. I mean, it's like,
Oh,
they
Jim.
put them up on the wall so they make them fast to
Are
grab.
you telling me to go
That's
to
what these are
Google
about.
image search and look for somebody's like tool porn? Because I guarantee it exists.
Oh, I am sure of it. I am sure. I'm sure it exists. But yeah, not to the extent we take it.
All right. So you're talking about and you're absolutely right. You were talking about amplifiers and buying what you like and everything. And it's like people are worried about the dealers. And like, yeah, it sucks if you're a dealer. How many of you listening to our show are actual dealers that would care where you're buying your Mesa Boogie from? I mean, are you really like that, like neurotic that you're like, I can only buy from my buddy Joe, who's got the corner store a mile down the road? Like, what the hell? I mean, Sweetwater still sells Mesa, and that's not going anywhere.
I returned, to make matters worse, I returned my my Fishman in a box that came from Guitar Center.
Oh, that's even better. I'm sure they'll get a crack out of that one.
Well, the box I had later, I was like, I need a box to send this. Oh, I got a Guitar Center box because I had to order another thing, so I'd have one more hanger. But the point that I'm trying to make, and I know you're making too, is that buy the guitar you like. Everybody says to me, they're like, oh, you should have bought a 355 because it's got the better parallelograms and this and that and the other thing. Or you should have bought the.
I bought what I wanted. Shut up. It's simple.
I bought the guitar. Why'd I got that gold top? Because I loved it. I went back and bought it because, damn it, I love that guitar. I didn't care that I paid, and we'll not share how much extra I paid for it. We know I paid a premium to get that back.
Yeah.
And
last thing. So something occurred to me over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to make this brief, and maybe this could be a show topic for next week if we want to expand on it. But I've heard a lot of people say they won't buy from X or Y because they don't like the person that's behind the brand, or they don't like the spokesperson, and we've talked about this in the show before. Obviously, my argument is always, you think they're the only people working for that company?
Right.
But like, are we really that messed up in our like circle of family here that we have to care, that we actually have to like the people that make the crap that we use? I mean, I guarantee you I don't like the guy that invented the light bulb when I use those.
Do you know, here's the funny thing. The things we use the most. Do you know the politics of the person that makes your toilet paper,
I was just
or
going
your
to say,
soap,
I almost used toilet paper as
or
the example, but
or that bags your meat at the store? I went to Kroger. I went to Kroger this weekend.
no, you have no idea.
$5.99 a pound porterhouse. $5.99 a pound porterhouse. I didn't go up to the guy and I go, now who did you vote for in the last election? I need to know.
Not even that. Not even that.
Before
Are
I
you
buy
just
this
a,
porterhouse?
Jim?
Yeah.
You're making it too obvious.
What
You didn't
are
go
your
up to
pronouns? I need to know.
You didn't go up. No. You're making it too obvious. I wasn't making even a political slant. You didn't go up to the counter and go, do you use tens or do you use nines? Like, not even a question that actually matters. But then when the guy says, I use tens, but I use them because it makes my tone fatter. And then the guy on the other side of the counter goes, fuck you, and walks off. Because, like, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
what? Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. What kind of blade do you use for that? Did you use a serrated, or did you use a flat? Oh, well, I can't buy this. It was used as a serrated blade.
oh yeah, no. So like that cut of meat. Did you do that on the machine, or did you slice that by hand? Did you use the glove when you sliced it? Or is it point to point? I mean, is it? You're getting my point, right? Like,
yeah.
Holy crap! I mean,
we
just
get
stop
down
and think
to-
about how insane some of the shit we worry about actually is.
Wait, when we can't hate people, this is the thing about internet hate. We can't hate people about what they used. We got to hate them because they don't have the right pronouns, or they didn't go to the right school, or they don't have the right. I mean, it's like, for sake, are you going to eat this week? I don't know who made that DiGiorno pizza I put in the oven at lunchtime, but I ate it.
Now, granted, there's guys like Jeff Kiesel out there that rub people the wrong way and do stupid shit in forums that maybe people don't actually understand what's going on. And then there's also guys like the guy from Fractal, Cliff, who like straight up acknowledges there's a problem with their product and is like, I'm not going to fix yours, but I'll fix it in a future revision for like other people. You know, that's the kind of shit that like you should look for.
Right.
But like that the Cliff from Fractal example, not the Jeff Kiesel, like I don't like his personality. I don't like the cut I don't like the cut of his jib, you know? So that's all I wanted to say.
You make great guitars, but I can't stand the way you look at me.
Yeah. I mean, like, are we really that? I mean, it's gotten to the point. Actually, I was going to use Josh Scott as an example, but that was the political one, right? Like, he was a member of the International House of Prayer who funded a anti-gay group in South America.
And then he left.
And then he left when he found out they were doing it.
I mean, he did the right thing. Well, the right thing to what these people that hated on him. He was like, oh, I found that out. Wow, thank you for telling me. I'm going to leave that.
Actually, I think he left it long before anybody found it out.
That's what I mean. But
which is even better, because it's like, he didn't have to tell me twice. Like,
yeah. But, I'm already gone.
But like that's another situation where it's like, okay, I could see maybe like a human rights violation. Like if the guy's okay, so the dude from Green Child or whatever, is it Green Child? I don't want to get it wrong, but there's a guy that makes like they're both sexist ads and then like totally politically motivated pedals. And he has like pedals with like Trump on it and stuff. And it's like, okay, I could see somebody, when you were bringing up the politics thing, I could see somebody getting pissed about that, but I can't see somebody getting like, and denying they're going to buy a product over something that's like absolutely ridiculous. Like, oh, that guy got a parking ticket.
I'm not saying that what I'm saying is we don't ask those questions. We pick up the Charmin. We don't ask those questions. We grab, whether you use Charmin or Angel Soft, I don't care. Scott, if you're a sadomasochist, use Scott paper towels. Toilet paper. But I'm just saying, they call it John Wayne toilet paper for a reason. It doesn't take shit off of anybody. But all joking aside, right? We get so involved in these things, but there's all this little stuff we do all day long, and we don't know it. And and the fact is, people are like, well, we're revealing the curtain behind these things and so on and so forth. And it's like, yeah, but come on, at some point, you've just got to live.
Yeah,
You've
you
just
just
got to
can't dwell
live.
on it. You can't worry about it.
Can't keep hating on people. I mean, I wouldn't own an iPhone if I really cared about the world, right? As far as
Apparently,
these go, because iPhones are made by
yeah, because it's so much better than every other company that does exactly the same
the
thing.
same thing.
Well, there's fewer people jumping off the Samsung factory.
Yeah,
There's a few fewer. I mean, they're still doing it, but
our initial thing, which is they're made by the same people in the same factory,
Yeah.
the same hands. They're just made with the different parts. Hey, how about that Wampler slash whatever parts that were made
welcome
in
to
that
modern
boutique place that-
manufacturing.
It's been that way for a long time, and that's what I'm saying. These guys are, it's just like the Court factory. If the Court factory burned down, oh no, now we've lost, 10
Every
different
guitar known
brands.
to man that's an import.
With the exception of, I think
Epiphone.
PRS and Gibson. Yeah, Epiphone is
Epiphone
separate.
and PRS at this point, NESP Ltd.
Yeah.
That would be.
And DSP Ltd. That's right. Yep, they're made separately. We've destroyed every other brand known to man that's made overseas. There goes Jackson. There goes
That's exactly
goes
what
Fender,
happened.
There goes. Yeah,
I'm crying
This is
because
fun.
it's true.
and I know. If you really think that this is the thing about that whole thing, if you really think that you're hurting rich people by doing it, you're not. You're just not.
You're
They're
not.
not. They're going to be fine. The person that you hurt is the poor person that goes to work every day and punches a card and doesn't do anything
It's
like that. They just want to get a freaking paycheck and feed their freaking families.
it's no different than people being like, I only buy made in USA
Yep.
because
Yep.
it's a political issue, right?
No, you don't.
You do realize they're taking all of their money and putting it anywhere else but the USA.
Yep. Which is a completely separate economics issue, and we're doing it to ourselves. So it's not, you can buy USA all day long, made in USA all day long.
Doesn't matter.
But those
Parts aren't made here.
parts aren't made here. We've proven that.
Yeah.
We proved it. Gibson wouldn't have had to shut down for so long if they could get capacitors and stuff. Where are they made? Fender wouldn't have had to do it. The amp companies, the pedal companies, everybody. And outside of the gear community, you could talk about cars. We could talk about anything all day long. My freaking lawnmower. I mean, it's like
Jim, you better
My
get that made in the
green
USA
lawnmower.
spark plugs.
I don't have spark plug. My lawnmower is electric.
Oh, you better get that non-Japanese brushless motor.
Yep. I got a brushless motor. I have no idea where it's made. And I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care because I can't. I remember when I was a kid. All right, I am old, guys. When I was a kid, I want to say I was in what most people call what they call or junior high. We
Middle
called
school
it
now.
middle school.
Yeah.
All right, so it depends on where you grew up, whether
It's
it's
basically
junior
just
high or
what
middle
state you're
school,
in.
but
We have middle schools
Yeah.
here.
6th to 8th grade.
Mm.
So this is the 70s, folks. This is the mid 70s. And a teacher said, this was early in this history of things. He goes, you know what? There are no televisions made in the United States. Did you know that? It's just a statement that he made. And I was like, Sure enough, Zenith and everybody else had moved overseas. And at that time, I think it was mostly Japan.
I think Zenith was
It
the last one to leave
Yeah.
because I have family
RCA
that worked for
Zenith.
them.
And so I lived now when I moved to New York when I was in my 30s, 40s, when I moved to New York again, I lived right down the street from the famous dog that's on your RCA records. You know, the big dog.
Yeah.
He's got a name. I don't remember what his name is. Spot or some shit like that. I don't know. He's got a regular dog name. And I lived right down the street from it. That place was an entirely abandoned warehouse of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. where there used to be record pressing and
Sure.
all kinds of stuff, and it was sad. I'm in my 50s now, folks. That was 20 years ago. It's been a sad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying we can fix it
No,
individually.
I think it's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So
And that's why I'm too old. Guys, don't worry about me. I'll be in the ground soon enough. You don't have to worry about me.
I have been David,
I'm a Jim.
and tonight we've been Practical Guitarists.